That's a loaded question. What has been the hardest part growing up as a woman? Wow, I was not ready for that.
I think one of the obvious ones is just like hitting puberty because your body's changing a lot and it changes fairly rapidly and you're kind of uncomfortable growing into your body and you're self-conscious about people like staring at you while you're going through these changes. And I mean, hitting puberty for anybody is already an awkward phase, and being a female just kind of multiplies that by 1,000 because I mean you're getting your period, and that's terrifying when you first get it because you're just like, oh my god, and you don't really know what to do, and you have to do all of this research on how to like keep yourself healthy while going through that every month, and it happens every month, and a lot of times you don't know when it's going to happen, so you'll be sitting in class and then it's like, oh Jesus, because it just hits you out of nowhere. And then like your body's growing and changing in more ways than most people have to deal with. Like guys, they don't have to deal with getting boobs, so that's a whole nother issue. And the cost of being a female is ridiculous. Like, you get taxed for feminine hygiene products and you have to buy extra clothing that guys don't have to, which is, and it's ridiculously expensive. One bra is like $60. And for a good bra, I mean, you can get cheap bras for like $20, but they're probably not going to last very long. So it's just very expensive.
Having to always be in fear of, I guess, being a bitch. You always have to be so nice, and if you're mean, you're a bitch. As a woman, you always have to be liked, I guess. Whatever you do, get people's approval, get them to like you. That's the goal as a woman. If you're too loud, be quiet, you know? So there's always that pressure to fit in constantly. And I can't speak for men, but as a woman, I think growing up, you see that transition from elementary school. Women are loud, they're rambunctious, and they're who they are. And then over middle school, high school, you start seeing the really loud girls all of a sudden just shut off. And it's like society told them, you can't be loud, you have to be quiet, you have to look a certain way, you have to be that. So you said, what was one of the hardest things growing up as a woman? I think just trying to fit that mold. Yeah, it's one of the hardest. There's probably more, but that's one of the ones off the top of my head.
I've had a problem with acne since I was 14. I've been dealing with it for 10 years, and it's not bad right now, but it used to be really bad, and I have cystic acne with scarring that is resistant to treatment. So no matter what I did, it wouldn't go away. It kept coming back. It would get worse because what cystic acne is it's a pocket deep under the skin of blood and oil, and if it pops, it spreads. And it's painful and very noticeable, and you can't cover it up with makeup because it just eats makeup. So there's really like, you just kind of have to suffer. And I've had people ask me, oh, what's wrong with your face? Because it doesn't look like normal acne. And I've had people tell me that I am greasy and disgusting and I just need to take a shower, when in reality I probably wash my face more than most people do on a regular basis. And I've tried so many topical creams and other acne solutions and medicated washes, and I've been through the ringer with it. And it's still an issue, which is why I'm going on Accutane in a few months, which is going to be an interesting journey.
Since I was age 11, I struggled horribly with acne, and that I still do. I still have carried that, and it shaped how I saw the world. It shaped how I carried myself. For a long time, I felt like I was in a cage. I didn't go to the beach. I didn't wear tank tops. I didn't, God forbid you saw me, like you saw all my shoulders or anything like that, my chest, whatever. And that actually recently changed within the last 4 years. But I think that had a lot to do with me being a young woman and having, you want to look pretty, you want to be that, you want to fit into that, but I just didn't. So yeah.
There's a lot of contributing factors to the way I am now. I wouldn't say so much social media, because I didn't have that when I was younger and in my developmental stages. I think it's mostly like being made fun of when I was little, because I've been made fun of a lot. Like, a lot. And for various things, not just the way that I look, but the things that I was interested in when I was little, because I've been a nerd from day one. I've grown up on video games and like fantasy novels and things like that, and that's not really the norm. Like, I'm supposed to have grown up enjoying makeup and dressing up and playing with hair, and while I enjoyed that to a degree, that wasn't really what I was completely interested in. I never really had friends growing up. I went to a private school, and that's just a whole nother ball game, and I had rocks thrown at me on the playground at one point when I was little. I've had sticks thrown at me. Like, it sounds awful, and it was, and it's made me a very introverted person. I don't make friends easily because I'm not very trusting, because I'm afraid that I'm going to have them like turn on me, because I've had that happen to me when I was little, and as I've gotten older it's happened to me.
All right. There's a routine, my own personal routine. I do not, if I have any self-deprecating thoughts, I try to toss those aside. I I'm on Prozac. That really helps me. That keeps me focused. I take it for OCD, depression, anxiety, and that really helps me keep like a focused mindset of being positive. But I think the biggest thing, because it definitely helps, I think the biggest thing is constantly being grateful, reminding myself that I live in a house and I have a car, and I am almost a college graduate and I'm healthy. So I think those are the biggest things, of just reminding myself that of all the things that I'm thankful for and who's in my life, and things could always be worse. Yeah.
It's kind of a tough question. I don't know. It's like, I'm a very pessimistic person. I'm dark. I think in the past few months I've really strived to be a more positive person, because I know I'm very self-aware of how negative I am and how much I like shit on myself and how that affects the people around me, and that negative energy affects people around me. So I've really been pushing myself to be more positive and to try and be more confident. And I think what I really do is I've kind of stopped watching the news and like intaking as much of the magazines and ads that I would normally be, so I don't have that constantly in my face and constantly like weighing on my conscience about like, oh, you need to look like this. And I have really focused on things that I'm passionate about. I went to New Zealand a few months ago, and that really helped me get out of this funk that I was in, and it's kind of set me on a better path. And I'm pushing myself to find new hobbies and be interested in things like this. The next few months I'm going to be looking into like kickboxing classes and Tabata classes and Tai Chi classes to get myself out and in the public and away from like being super introverted and just kind of being stuck in my own head. And I'm focusing on things that really interest me, and I'm pushing myself to work more and better my life as a whole, not just in the realm of trying to be more positive, because I think by focusing on other aspects of my life, like pushing myself to better in my career and pushing myself to be more educated and things like that, it's ultimately going to come back and help with me being more positive about who I am and how I feel about myself. So I think just focusing on what I'm passionate about and looking at things that might interest me would is what is making me feel better about who I am.